so baby, I'm trying to get away. Trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blonde little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the vibes, but I'm copping the pain. We out for the styles of a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, and I'm little like Debbie. I know what your bras, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the Rand do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, now taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, he's Maddie, and we're doing Thursday night pregame show on Wednesday.
Yeah, because we've got Thanksgiving football, which means Thursday night football is no longer Thursday night football. It starts in the morning for you guys. And let's be real, you guys aren't going to watch a show with us on Thanksgiving. Your family's already been nice enough to let you watch the football. They're going to be a bit weird if you're watching us on Thanksgiving.
And I'm not getting it up an extra hour early because of these kickoffs for you all fuckers.
But Thanksgiving, obviously not something we celebrate here in the UK, but happy Thanksgiving to you, Jay, and your family, and everyone out there as well.
Yeah, all you guys celebrate the days like that you destroyed other countries instead, right?
Well, we don't do that. We just get made aware that there's an independence from there's an Independence Day from the UK. I think it's something like close to 300 days out of the year. So we get reminded. So people celebrate leaving us quite often.
So do you guys have like Happy Brexit Day?
No, I mean some people do. I don't, but some people.
You start celebrating Brexit as like Thanksgiving. That's the new UK thing.
No, we don't celebrate things that fucking entire countries over, Jay. But we'll see. We'll move from that. But Jay, I've already had my Thanksgiving present, and it was in the form of Week 12 because Week 12 was a great week of football. Some really fun games, some close games that we didn't think would be very close. And do you know who doesn't blow, Jay? Who doesn't blow, Jay? That's a pause. Who doesn't blow? Cooper Rush, Jay. He doesn't blow.
You are correct. He does not blow Jay at all. Like Cooper Rush, yeah.
He does not blow Jay. But the Cowboys got a win against the Commanders. And Jay, that was a crazy game. And my first question of the show to you is: does that last 4 minutes prove that the Cowboys are talented but poorly coached? Just before we go into that, in that last 4 minutes, there was a turnover by Dallas, then a touchdown by Schoonmaker, touchdown Washington, a 2-point conversion, a 50-plus yard field goal from Washington, a kickoff TD by Turpin, a 70-yard TD by McLaurin, then a missed extra point, an onside kick, returned for a touchdown when it would have ended the game if he slid, and an interception on the Hail Mary.
I mean,
what?
If you mean, does it prove the Cowboys can do something? Yeah, if they're going to play a special teams that gives a game away every week, then sure. Sure, because that's 2 missed extra points and that touchdown by Turpin, you lose the game. Like, those things go – so the whole win comes down to the bad play of the special teams for the Commanders.
Well, just to push back on that, the Cowboys were up for basically all of that game going into that last part of the game as well. It was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter, and then the Cowboys got the touchdown to Schoonmaker from a turnover. That
but without that return, they're up by 1, and I don't think you guys I'm not guaranteed you score. I'm not guaranteeing that that Commanders don't come back. I think that whole thing is the Commanders need to just. Well, I don't even know if they need to blow it up because they were just looked at their kicker and been like, bye, you're on IR, so we won't see you for the rest of the year. That's what you get for being injured and coming back too soon.
Yeah, lessons to take there on playing a kicker while he's hurt, clearly. Probably not the right thing to do. if you're the Commanders, just to focus on the Cowboys here, Jay, I think that the Cowboys showed, I think their defense has shown something like over the past few weeks. Now that they're getting players back, Deron Bland was back this week.
Without the numbers in front of me, didn't Daniels throw for like 275, 2 touchdowns, and have like 75 or 80 yards rushing?
Yeah, of course, but it was 70 of those yards are obviously on one play at the end, but one of the turnovers as well. He also has 2 interceptions on that day, but one of them's on a Hail Mary and one of them's a ricochet. Not Jaden Daniels' fault. But the Commanders have been a great offense throughout the whole thing, and I think the Cowboys' defense has shown that they have something again,
And 2 injured running backs, but
smoked by the Dallas Cowboys defense now, though. They're coming in and hitting hard. I think that the Cowboys actually showed something now that they have some of their injured players back. Like, look, they're still shit against the run. I'm not saying that they're unbelievable.
Were they? And then weren't you guys like 2 for 11 on 3rd down or something stupidly wild?
Cooper
like
Rush
that?
blows, like Cooper Rush blows. Look.
I just think it's one of the games the Commanders go back and go, how the fuck did we lose that? Like, I think the coaching staff is like, how the fuck did we not win that game?
Yeah, I think looking at that game and just watching it, I was surprised by how poor the Commanders were. But I also think we played well. I just think that the Cowboys are so badly coached. Like, you just look at everything that they do, and there's no discipline. They tried to lose the game. Williams, I think was his name, returned the onside kick for a touchdown, Jay. And that's just poor coaching, surely. That's just disrespect to the coaching. You can see the coaches on the sidelines screaming and shouting. Like, what do you put that down to, giving the Commanders a chance to win at the end?
That motherfucker wanted a touchdown. That motherfucker saw his 15 minutes of fame in the NFL and was like, I am taking this.
I'd struggle to give up a touchdown. I think it's one of the most impressive things for an organization if your players regularly give up touchdowns for you guys to win the game, right? I think that's one of the most impressive things. I wish I was playing the Dallas defense and special teams on fantasy. They ended with 19 points in that game. But Jay, for me, I think it was obvious that the Cowboys defense was going to turn around. I don't think like they're amazing. They can't stop the run. They don't have D tackles who can actually stop the run. So I don't think they're incredible, but I think it was always going to turn around. They were always going to be able to play hard and win a few games here and there, especially when you take into account that Parsons is now back. Bland returned. So now you have Parsons, Overshown, Diggs, and Bland, who are all playmakers on different levels, and they only allowed Washington to score 9 points until halfway through the 4th quarter, and then all sorts of fucking chaos ensued from there with no one helping each other. But Jay, what is the reasons for the Commanders falling back here? Because they've fallen off big time.
Their special teams is awful. And then, I mean, their defense has not been great all year anyway. They've just been good enough. So you're going to have more. And when you let Dowell run for like, I don't know, 90 yards or whatever the fuck it was, that's, come on. Like, that shouldn't have happened. That's not the defense.
Yeah, I mean, Dowell run for about 70 against the whoever we played before the Eagles as well. But yeah, I agree with you. You can't be letting the Cowboys. You can't be letting the Cowboys defense, the Cowboys offense run for 90 yards, because then that actually gives the chance for the defense to actually recover and stuff like that, and the defense to play some football without Cooper Rush blowing it up.
What are you playing off the line for? Are you afraid of Cooper Rush? Is this where we're at? Like,
yeah,
I just that's kind of it too. Like, if Dak was playing and somebody got 90 yards, I'd be like, all right, but.
I guess you're scared of CD Lamb, right? I guess that's what it is. You have extra coverage on CD Lamb.
Do what they did to the Vikings and triple cover the fucker like they did Justin Jefferson. Like, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think they had a weird game here. For me, I think it's since Daniel's injury, he hasn't looked great, but that was Daniel's best game that game since he's been injured. I think he's probably back now in terms of his injury. That rib is starting to heal. He looked much more comfortable running this week than he did before. So I think that'll play into their hands. But as you say, the special team was terrible, defensive regression, but also, Jay, a harder schedule than how they started out the season. They've now played against the Steelers. They've played against Philly as well, and they've played against Baltimore now, and it's just harder games mean a harder schedule. I was probably a bit too high on them before they went into that stream of games, and now the Cowboys have done the Eagles a solid, and the Eagles are now 3 games ahead of the Commanders at the top of the division.
Yeah, and the Commanders, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, I guess the Eagles are all making it very difficult for other teams in the playoff run right now.
Yeah, right. It is definitely those kind of teams that are just playing great football.
I think they're a couple games up on everybody chasing them, which makes it a whole fucking another thing for teams chasing for the wild card.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously, people in Cowboys Nation getting very excited about that win. Everybody, we might get another win on Thursday. But
that's just nothing like making sure you do not get Hunter. Nothing like making sure you do not get
exactly right. And it's also just like chill the fuck out. We're still not that good, right? We still have the same problems. It's just the problems were exacerbated in previous weeks where we've played some decent teams that got blown out.
Why the fuck we get punished with Cowboys Giants on Thanksgiving is fucking beyond me.
It's perfect turkey nap time, like you finish your dinner and then you'll nap through that game, right? That's the point. No,
it's a punishment.
It's a punishment. It's gonna be. I think it could be quite a fun game to watch for how bad it will be. It'll be a close-ish game, and it'll be fun to watch. But we'll talk about them later on, Jay. But you also had a great week 12. Although it probably caused you a bit of a heart attack.
Did I?
The Vikings versus Bears game.
Did I have a great week 12? Because I'm not sure that's exactly what I saw either. But
yeah, it was a pretty intense game. Jay, what is leading to the Vikings' problems stringing together 4 good quarters of football?
2 things. Pre-snap penalties, Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Pre-snap penalties, definitely 100%. I thought Sam Darnold had a pretty good and clean game in that.
I mean, he only missed like 3 open receivers on 3rd downs, but fuck it. Fuck it.
At least he's not throwing it to the other team now.
He tried that once too. It just didn't work.
Yeah, trying to throw it into triple coverage on Justin Jefferson. After the announcer just said how well he was doing not to try and force it to Justin Jefferson the entire game, he then tries to force it into triple coverage to Justin Jefferson and gets away with no touchdown. But for me, Jay, just looking at that game, and something that we always talk about, and it's prevent defense. Like the reason that they gave up 17 points in the 4th quarter is Caleb Williams had a decent 4th quarter, and the Vikings decided to play prevent defense, rushing 3, dropping deep. And I think
I didn't have a problem with it because you just have to fucking recover the onside kick. Like, who doesn't recover the fucking onside kick?
Yep, definitely. So, poor decision making as well. So Johnny Munt not getting out of the way on the onside kick. You have 3 defenders running to go hit Williams when Keenan Allen sneaks out the back. No one goes to cover Keenan Allen on the Caleb Williams rollout, and 3 defenders go towards Williams. And then throughout the year, the reason why they've struggled is Sam Darnold keeps on throwing the ball away. And Sam Darnold has weird streakiness of throwing the ball away, where it's in 1 quarter, he'll throw it away 2-3 times if he's going to throw it away. So yeah, they're struggling to string together 4 good quarters, but I think you should take the positives away from that game. You were way better than the Bears on that day, and it just takes a bit of time to string the 4 quarters together, and then you guys will be fine, because that game shouldn't have been that close.
Yeah, because Sam Darnold's the quarterback, but okay, great.
Yeah, we'll talk about quarterback moves for the
We just
Vikings
got worse.
in another segment. But Jay, are the Vikings an NFC Championship contender as long as Sam Darnold looks after the ball? As long as he's not throwing it away, he can miss open receivers, but as long as he's not throwing it away, are the NFC Championship contenders?
If they don't have to play the Eagles, I think they have a real shot.
So you think they're good against the Lions, but not the Eagles? Why?
Yeah, well, they just proved that they should have beat the Lions. They beat themselves in that game. And it's divisional game. They always play it tough down to the end. So I'd rather see the Lions than the Eagles in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you for the Vikings on that one. I think the Eagles have just hit their stride and they've gone. Like it's obvious in our fantasy football league that's happened as well, because all of a sudden Hitman, whose name is Bomb Squad on there, but Hitman basically build his team with Eagles players, and his fantasy points have gone through the roof because of how well they're just hitting their stride. So, but we'll see where the Vikings kind of end up, and if they can start stringing 4 quarters of football together. I just think when you watch the Vikings, you have so much there. So Justin Jefferson is the perfect decoy. He takes attention away on those first 2 touchdowns. He gets those touchdowns because he's the one taking attention away, but he can also make plays in big coverage as well.
I also think the Lions are going to get knocked out of the playoffs by the Commanders.
All right, okay, that's it. We should do a show actually soon.
Yeah, because Lions, if they get the home field advantage, Commanders get the upset over whoever they play as a divisional winner, move on, boom, knock out the Lions. That's what I'm looking at.
See that. But yeah, I think you should take away the positives from there, because I don't think the Bears are a terrible team. I just think they aren't quite there yet. I think they've got enough.
Yeah.
But on that, Jay,
ask me Sunday night.
Yeah, and on that, Jay, is Caleb Williams' improvements in this game a show of what is to come going forward? I thought Caleb Williams played really well in this game.
Yeah, they just have to get rid of that coaching staff.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. I think you've got a special talent there. When Caleb Williams basically went into playing hero ball in the 4th quarter and just played ridiculously well, running outside the pocket, making things happen. He just can't do that every single quarter, every single game.
They're like, I think it was Moose Johnson who was calling the game, and he's like, Caleb Williams, they got to get him outside more. That's when he makes magic happen. It's like, no, the play call is so fucking bad from the jump that Caleb has to run and make something happen. How about you scheme an offense that lets him play from the pocket, and then when he needs to scramble out and make a play, he can. But nobody ever wants to go, this coaching staff is awful. They're doing nothing to help this kid. And I don't give a fuck that they changed the offensive coordinator mid-season. This whole coaching staff needs to go, and they need like an offensive mind, or like we've talked about before, you need a defensive coach who's bringing a good offensive coordinator with him.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. So my point was, if you get Vrabel, can you pry Arthur Smith to come with Vrabel? Can you get him out of the Steelers and see what happens?
Letting him go.
Come to the Bears, just see what you can do. But yeah, you would have had a much better chance of doing that at the start of the year, obviously, if you got rid of Eberflus when you should have at the start of the year. But yeah, I think Caleb Williams had a really good game. I think he showed that he can make magic happen, but I agree with you. He shouldn't be expected to make magic happen on every single down. And that shows in overtime, where he's awesome throughout the 4th quarter. And then in overtime, he takes the sack whilst trying to make a crazy thing happen. He takes a huge sack, which just puts them miles away from 3rd down. And then they take a delay of game straight after that. And you just can't ask him to do that every single down.
If they're not going to go after Belichick, 2 words, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, you know what? I would agree with that as well. I think
Aaron Rodgers, Alex Smith, he trained both of them. Like, can we not see that? Like, okay. Dak, up until this year, what, you guys had 12 wins every year with him?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that Mike McCarthy is a terrible coach anymore. I just think sometimes like you take an organization as far as you can carry them, and things need a break, and like things need a break and a change up, and those kind of things, and a refresh. And Mike McCarthy to the Bears, I don't hate, and I think he would enjoy being able to play against Green Bay twice a year. I think he would enjoy those games. Jay, a game that turned out to be really enjoyable and totally crazy as well was the Panthers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs only get a 3-point win in this game, and they had to kick a walk-off field goal to get it. Congrats to the rookie signed up from the practice squad as well for kicking that goal. That must be one of the best feelings ever. Parker Romo as well for the Minnesota Vikings doing it again for you guys. You've clearly got something there. But Jay, was this a poor Chiefs performance, or did the Panthers play the best they could possibly do?
Yes.
Both.
Yes, it's absolutely both. But it was kind of, and if you look at the stats, he didn't light the world on fire, but it was Bryce Young giving the rest of the NFL the finger.
Yeah, it's just a reminder that there was a reason that Bryce Young was the first overall pick. So I think we're out of this era where you have total busts at quarterback, where like total busts at quarterback, especially if they're the consensus.
So you haven't watched Will Levis play?
If they're the consensus first overall pick is what I mean. Like Will Levis gets picked. Will Levis gets picked way later, right? But he's the consensus first overall pick is Bryce Young and Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud as well. Like those kind of guys. I suppose Kenny Pickett goes against what I'm saying here, but everybody said that QB class was terrible. So I guess everybody was just right on Kenny Pickett. But now these guys have so much before they reach the NFL. They have so many practice camps in high school. They have so many reps at college. They have all of this before they get to the NFL that we are able to analyze people much better. And there is a reason why these guys get picked first overall. And Bryce Young showed us the reason there. I thought he played really great against a Chiefs defense that is awesome. But also, Jay, is just the way that the Chiefs win games now? Because I've bet against these big point spreads every single time, and the Chiefs come out and they just win games in one score fashion. So is this just the way that they win?
I think it's kind of how they have to right now. Like once they get Pacheco back, once they fucking get moving towards the play, I think, and then everybody's like, oh, they lost to the Bills, and then this happened with the Panthers. It's through, okay, keep doubting the Chiefs and see how that is. It's like I said in last week's show, the Chiefs is still the Chiefs.
Yeah, let's remember the Chiefs is still the Chiefs. They've got injuries, and I agree with you with Pacheco. Pacheco is such a key part of their team because of the way he runs the ball, and it allows them to just keep ticking over. And then you don't need magic every single play from wide receivers who
and Hollywood's coming back, and yeah,
and just a reminder, the Chiefs scored 30 points in this game. I think it's like as well, and they came out and they won the game and drove them straight down the field.
And their defense just played bad. Their defense is better than how they played.
Yeah, their defense just had a bad day, and I think the Panthers just played the best football that they are capable of. Like that's it. That's the Panthers. That's their best game that they're able to play. So yeah, sometimes you just come up against that. Jay, with that in mind, how far away are the Panthers from actually being a decent football team?
So they're still a long way away.
Yeah, I agree with you.
One, you're still open draft picks, or a draft pick to Chicago. Two, we're not even sure Bryce Young's the quarterback moving forward. Three, they have an awful owner because he thinks he can just buy like a championship instead of building a team, and he's impatient. And if you take all the teams that he owns in the last like 3 or 4 years, he's fired 7 coaches or something wild like that, David Tepper. So dysfunctional franchises keep doing dysfunctional things.
Yeah, I think they're a long way off as well. And I think it's largely because of what they've done with Bryce Young. As you said, is he the guy going forward now? Like, did he just take a seat on the bench? Because it wasn't the same way that Anthony Richardson took a seat on the bench. It was like your bench because we no longer think you're good enough. Like that's kind of where it was at. So let's see what they end up doing. I think when we say how close are teams to being good, it's not. It's not like, oh yeah, we need 5 players on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, like they're not close. But I just saw some people saying, "Oh, are the Panthers actually good now?" No, they're not. They're not a good football team either. And
It's
Jay,
the NFL, and everybody gets paid
yeah,
because they're really good at what they do, but that doesn't make you a good team. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like you'll see games where they're pretty good as well. Jay, the Packers also went up against the 49ers this week. The 49ers got dominated, something that doesn't normally happen to the 49ers.
I figured this all out.
Go on.
It's Greenlaw. It's Hargrave. That's what the problem is. We don't bring up the fact that these guys have been out almost, pretty much all year. And that's their problem. Their defense. Greenlaw, as good as Fred Warner is, Greenlaw, that's what's happening in the middle of that field. That's what's happening in the run game for the 49ers. I was sitting there, I was thinking about it, and yes, Brock Purdy being out didn't fucking help, and Trent Williams being out didn't fucking help. But it's Hargrave and it's Greenlaw. It's the middle of that defense is fucking soft right now. You can run on it. You can throw in the middle. And I was thinking about it watching that game, and I'm like, why are they so different? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, Greenlaw's not out there tearing shit up. And then I'm like, oh, Hargrave's not out there either. I think that's like people are going to go, oh, it's 2 players. It's 2 of the most important players on that defense have not been there. And that makes the corners have to work twice as hard, which their corners are average anyway. They were just really looked better because they had guys who were shutting shit down. And then that opens up Bosa and them to get after the fucking quarterback. And I was like, oh, it's Greenlaw and Hargrave. That's what I came up with anyway. You can disagree with me in the comments, whatever. But that's what I'm sold on, is that that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think the 49ers obviously got so much last year of this amazing offense, this offensive juggernaut that they've built here. But if you actually go look at the games, it's defense first, run the ball, control the game, and then the offense runs downfield, right? And if you can't go defense first and control the game, and the worst positions to be missing is your run game defense, which is what they're missing in the center of the field there, because then you really can't control the game. And also, you said about Fred Warner, I just saw a tweet from Adam Schefter before coming on here. Fred Warner is also about to play his 9th consecutive game with an ankle injury as well. Like he's also got a fractured ankle too. And look, this goes back to what I was saying at the start of the season when I predicted that the 49ers would fall off. They get injured. They're an injury-prone team. They're now into a build where it's an aging team. They've had this team together for a long time, and it's an aging team, and it's an injured team, and they've always had injuries all the way through, and they're now just getting huge clusters of injuries the whole time. And for me, that means you need to reset. You need to get younger. You can't just have all injured players everywhere. You need to say, okay, I might go down in skill a little bit to have someone who's always here. The best ability is availability, So, Jay, where do you think the 49ers should go from here? What do you think they should do?
It's still weird because as much as I want to say they're dead, they're not, because look at the division. Like, you still got to win that division, and they don't have the easiest schedule, but they do have the teams in front of them they need to beat to win the division. So everything they want is still in front of them. I'm just not sold they can go get it. And then I'm hoping the Vikings do them a favor on Sunday, you know what I mean, and hand the Cardinals a loss. So then that gives you – and then it's really weird because I'm still not sold on the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks, week to week, I'm not sure what team's coming out there. One week they look like they can play, and the next week it looks like they all forgot that they were playing football.
It's such a great division in terms of quality inside the division. Like, if you look at the rosters, you go, oh, yeah, there's quality everywhere. But for some reason, they're also up and down. The Rams are really up and down this season. Like, the Rams' defense is surreal. It either decides to be really young and talented and flying around and really impressive, or they're getting beat up as well, the Rams defense. And then you have the Cardinals, who their offense is just the most up and down. But when you put Kyler Murray and you put James Conner, like they're quite up and down players and streaky players the whole time. And as you say, the Seahawks as well. So I think the 49ers have a chance. It's just, if I was the 49ers looking towards my longevity as coach, my longevity is kind of like an organization, I would be looking at getting younger in the next year. This might be my final hurrah for this team and see if we can make it.
I'm not mad at that. I still know that if they make the playoffs, nobody wants to see them.
Yeah, basically no one ever wants to play the 49ers.
They're so battle tested. That's why.
Yeah.
It's not like they can just squeak into the playoffs, but they've been in how many playoff games? And that's another thing too. We're having an aging team that's played in how many postseason games in the last 3-4 years too. I mean, they played pretty much close to at least another half a season than everybody else. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree with you. And also looking forward to Brock Purdy's contract negotiations in the summer. If I'm Brock Purdy or his agent, I'm suggesting he does the smart thing and takes just a bit less money to help rebuild the team and that kind of thing, because he's just in the perfect situation.
If I'm Brock Purdy, I get every fucking dime they will give me on my first contract. And I say this to every NFL player: on your first contract, get paid. Fuck that. It's all about you. On your second or third contract, yes, then be the hometown guy. But I'm not mad at Justin Jefferson for breaking the bank. Go get your fucking money. Like, set your family. I get what you're saying. I absolutely
I think it makes, but I think it makes sense for Justin Jefferson, right? It makes sense for Justin Jefferson. Who's the best of his position. It makes sense when you're the best of your position, but I think Brock Purdy in a lot of other situations isn't in this level of contract talk where it's like over 60 minutes. But it's the next
number one, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now is Jordan Love. You know what I mean? If I'm Brock Purdy, I'm like, I'm as good or better than Jordan Love. Like, I've been to a Super Bowl, motherfucker, even though my shoulder fell off. I've been to NFC Championship games. You had 8 games in your career that looked like, you know what I mean? And
I
in the playoffs, I still smacked you in your mouth. You're paying me more than Jordan Love. That's kind of what but I get where from the team's standpoint you want to build it. I'm just more of go change your family's life and then worry about being the good guy.
I think you're always going to change your family's life when you're going to. I'm not saying go down from 60 to 40. I'm saying hover around that 50 mark and maybe make it a more flexible, team-friendly thing that they can move money around a bit more, like on the contract.
I mean,
like,
think about it.
Freaking money.
This year, Jordan Love's making more than fucking Dak. Okay, like seriously.
Yeah, Dak I saw some people talking about cutting Dak, and then I don't think they realized that we would then be on the hook in 2 years' time. We would owe him $107 million in the cap.
Yeah, I know there's some weird cap gymnastics you could do and then do a trade, and then you don't eat as much, but you're still going to eat a huge amount. And who are you going to get that's better? Okay.
Exactly.
It's like the Giants got fucked with Daniel Jones. Who are you going to get that's better? But I'm at least having a conversation with a fucking rational person about this time. Like, because for a day and a half ago, I had a conversation with the most irrational fucking person in our group chat that I actually ended up getting him in his feelings, and that wasn't my intent. Like, I got him mad at me, and I did not mean to. Like, I thought we was just going back and forth, and I got him mad at me.
Yeah, I think with Brock Purdy, I think Brock Purdy is excellent at what he does, and what he does is be the 49ers quarterback. It's like we'll talk about Tua later on in the show, but Tua's the same. The perfect situation.
I think he could do that same thing with Steichen. I think he could do the same thing with Slowick. I think he could do the same thing with KOC, Johnson. So I don't think he's just like, and I don't want to use the term system quarterback because the greatest system quarterback in the NFL history has 7 Super Bowl wins.
I'm pretty good with system quarterbacks.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers is a system quarterback. People just forget he is the system. Peyton Manning was the system.
Yeah, what you mean is Brock Purdy isn't just a one system quarterback. I
don't think he's a top 5, nor do I ever think he'll be a top 5. But I do think he's got the right if you want to call it.
And that's not
where you want to go. right?
Yeah, his job isn't to be a top 5 quarterback. It's like Dak Prescott's job should never have been to be a top 5 quarterback. That's not the job that they're meant to do, and that's just the way that the pay grades work and the Cowboys roster
Next
building
man
and all
up.
of that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're just not meant to do that. But anyway, Jay, the final game of this week was the Harbowl. It was the Chargers versus the Ravens. Jay, looking at that game, do the Chargers have enough weapons to compete at this level?
Okay, one, let's be completely honest, and this isn't sour grapes or anything, but if J.K. Dobbins doesn't get hurt, you don't win that fucking fantasy game. Motherfucker, you don't win that fantasy game. Okay? Killed me that Dobbins went out. Like, I was like, oh, you gotta be because in the first quarter and a half, I was like, I got this motherfucker. I got him. One more long field goal, 7 more yards from Dobbins. I got this motherfucker.
I would have been so good.
They're fucked without Dobbins. They are fucked without JK.
Yeah, I mean, Gus Edwards really didn't look good in that.
He had the best game he's had in years, and it's still not enough to carry that team. And it pains me to say, like, because they're still going to be in games and they're still going to be really tough. But I was really starting to get excited. I picked the Ravens, so I thought the Ravens would win this game. But I really thought, like, okay, we're seeing a Chargers team. It's going to make, if he's out more than 2 or 3 weeks, this is a real problem for them. I don't know how bad the injury is, and I didn't see that he went on IR, but that doesn't mean they won't because he's in my fantasy. And, of course, Eckler's in my fantasy. So, yeah, okay, that's fucking great, you guys. Fucking great. But I hope Dobbins comes back fast because there's something magical about this. This Chargers team, and I don't think it'll change after this year, but I just love seeing Jim Harbaugh come in. He's the happiest Jim Harbaugh I've ever seen. He looks like he is having the time of his fucking life, which his players are having the time of their fucking life. Have you ever seen Justin Herbert on the sideline smacking his coach in the chest, jumping up and down? Like, we've never seen this. He's like, because he is the consummate professional, right? Yeah. He's like Peyton Manning 2.0, but you're seeing him have excitement, and we'll get to him with, I don't want to throw out too much of what I got moving forward, but man, they got some young receivers that, starting to look a little better than I thought they were at receiver. That's the Ravens are for real, though. The Ravens are for real.
Yeah. For me, the Chargers are maybe 1, maybe 2 years back from where the Ravens are. They're on a similar trajectory, similar type of team. Their defense is actually better than the Ravens is now. More consistent than the Ravens is, I guess.
I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they're 1 or 2 years back from where the Ravens are, and that's going to be a fun. The AFC West is shaping up to be a fucking fun division, by the way, with the Broncos playing the way that they are with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, the Chiefs obviously in that division, and the Chargers playing the way that they are right now. That division is shaping up to be a lot of fun.
The Raiders are fun too because they came out and played their ass off, even though they haven't given up. They were fun to watch, and they just like they got to go get themselves a quarterback, and then we'll see moving forward what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a really fun division, and I think the Chargers, as you say, I think. Look, Quentin Johnson isn't an NFL number 1 wide receiver. He can't catch. So I don't think Quentin Johnson is a number 1 wide receiver. But
What about lad?
Our lad McConkey, who I was very high on coming in the year. Another guy who I had sat on my bench, Jay, who would have won me the other reason why I would have been so pissed if I lost.
Jordan Addison. I would have rubbed that in too. I would have ground that Jordan Addison in. I would have.
So on my bench, I had Jordan Addison, Lad McConkey, and the Dallas Cowboys defense and special teams just sat there, just waiting to be played. But anyway, doesn't matter. I got the win, so that's fine. I'm now into the playoffs, and if I get a win this week, then I've got a first round bye as well, which is exciting. But Lad McConkey looks awesome. I think Lad McConkey is class. Really good, and their offensive line is legit. Like the Chargers, for such a long time, we've wondered about why they can't just build an offensive line. And with Rashawn Slater on 1 tackle and Joe Alt at the other, that line is fucking legit. And they've obviously already got the quarterback in place, so I think they're going to be there for a long time.
Joe Alt is such a big human being that can just move ridiculously, like just such a huge human being who can move like that is insane.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous as well. So I think the Chargers are just a couple of weapons away. Like hit the draft, running back, wide receiver, tight
Free
end.
agency, yeah,
Here we
you'll
go.
be good.
Here we go. Let's move. Jay, the one standout player for me on the Ravens, I think the Ravens obviously had a really great game against a really tough opposition, but I think a player who's not got great plaudits all the way through this week from the coverage that I've seen, but for me stood out was Zay Flowers. Jay, is Zay Flowers the forgotten star in this Ravens offense?
I literally feel sometimes like I'm the only person who thinks Zay Flowers can play. Like sometimes I know it's not true, but I literally feel like that sometimes. Like, how does he not get any love whatsoever?
Yeah.
And I get it. You got King Henry. I get you got Lamar, and I get you got Andrews, which I would argue that he's not even the best tight end on their team anymore. It's likely, but
likely,
yeah. But I get that there's other, but how do you guys not like out there in TV world get on this Zay Flowers train? I was on this Zay Flowers train last year trying to pump him up. And then I know he had the rough playoff game, but like that's never going to happen again, right? You know what I mean? There's shit that's going to happen with a guy like I could have crushed Aaron Jones for that fumble on the 1 yard line. It's never going to happen again. Never. I'm not worried about it. It's not something he does. I'm not worried about Zay Flowers making stupid mistakes. This kid can flat out ball, and he is the perfect wide receiver for Lamar because I don't know. There might be people as good, but I don't know if there's anybody better than him when a play breaks down getting open.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing with Zay Flowers is I think he does have I think he's had a few big game drops and stuff like that. But people aren't treating this as a big game for some reason. All the people who last week were saying Lamar Jackson chokes in the big game and stuff aren't realizing that they just played a huge game against an AFC championship rival. I would say the Chargers are, like, just with where they're at. They're probably a weapon away from really being there, but they should be in the playoffs, an AFC championship rival. And they played a huge game, primetime game, and Lamar Jackson played really well, and Zay Flowers played really well and hit every play as well. And then we don't really need to say much about Derrick Henry, who went for another 140 yards.
Yeah, and I just think people don't understand how good the defense was that they just went up against, and they played really well. And then I had a wild fact I forgot to give you guys when we were talking Vikings-Bears. Matt Eberflus has not won a home game on a Sunday this year. Just
so wow, that's pretty crazy.
Knows. Weird stat.
That is a weird stat. Well, I mean, you can say that about the Dallas Cowboys actually, but they've just not won a home game. So,
but
it's a bit different.
You are talking about a team that went 3 or 4 years in a row winning 12 games, though. Like,
yeah. Jay, that's the end of our reactions to week 12, just our normal reactions. But here,
I see you had one more question on there. I think it's a good question.
All right, okay. I'll ask it. I feel like we'd already answered it, is why I moved on, but I'm good with it. Who will go further in the playoffs, Jay? The Chargers or the Ravens? Who's going to go further in the AFC?
Probably the Ravens, but it's whoever does not have to hit a buzzsaw week 1. There is going to be a buzzsaw. If you do not have that bye, your first week game is going to be brutal in the AFC. Mm-hmm. So that's all. That's the only reason I thought we should touch that, because let's just say the Chiefs win the home field advantage because they have the lead right now. It's the Bills, it's the Ravens, it's the Chargers, it's the Steelers. Like, yeah, there's going to be some brutal games. So probably the Ravens, but I wouldn't be shocked if somebody gets knocked out in the first round we didn't see coming.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just having a look at who's like the lower seed here, like the 7th seed. So the 7th seed is currently the Broncos, like, is who you would come up against.
And that's if you're number 2, that's who you're playing in the first round. Like, yeah. You'll probably beat them, but they're gonna give you all you can handle on that defense, and they're not gonna make mistakes. And I'm just saying it's gonna be rough. if you look at it, it's this like all the teams I named too could win a game. So the AFC playoffs are going to be insane.
Yeah, you have the Dolphins at 8 as well, who are always just not a fun team to play if they manage to get in. The Bengals, like we don't know how great they are, but they always have the opportunity for Joe Burrow to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns as well. So I agree with you. It's whoever plays the least informed team, because the division leaders, when you look at this AFC, it is ridiculous. It's Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Ravens, Chargers, Broncos, Dolphins, Colts, Bengals. That's the top 10 seeds. They're all teams you don't want to play at any point of your season. So yeah, I agree with you there, Jay. Jay, we're now moving on to segment 2, which is our overreactions. This is our hottest takes from week 12. Jay, you go first.
All right, I'm pulling them up. Kicking has become too easy in the NFL, and they need to make the goalposts smaller.
Right. That's so interesting because of the amount of people who are saying we just need to, like, kickers are losing games and all of that kind of stuff.
It happens, but look at the percentages. It's the percentages. Everything's at like fucking 90% for these guys. I mean, 50-yarders are like at 80% across, 86% across the league. It's becoming like to the point where your kicker in fantasy football is becoming more of a weapon than your running back sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I said this in a podcast preseason when we were talking about fantasy picks. I was like, get a really fucking good kicker who on a team who kicks a lot of field goals, on a team who can get to around the 50, and you'll cruise like a lot of fantasy, just the way that fantasy is set up and the way that kicks are set up. And I did have a kind of discussion with Nick Wright, but obviously not with Nick Wright, but I was listening to Nick Wright and I was talking to myself at the same time, where he was saying about kickers like should be making everything and they should be doing this, and they're losing the game if they're not. We're only noticing the amount that are missing right now because of how unusual it is to miss, right?
And it's blocks and different things too, right?
Yeah, a lot of blocks. And also, yes, the other part of this is it's made the defensive side of special teams much better at getting up and blocking and they obviously work a lot more on that as well. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. The kicking is, I love to see it, but it's amazing what a lot of these kickers are doing in the NFL now. Jay, my overreaction, and it's a massive one. It's a big one. The Dallas Cowboys defense is back. I know they've just given up points to the Eagles and the Commanders, but they're just really good teams. The Dallas Cowboys defense is back in business.
And Drew Lock throws for 325. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a problem like that. I still think their scheme is going to end up hurting them in the end because I feel like it's round pieces in square holes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think I'm like, the players are back. The coaching is still wrong, but the players are back. Is where we are. Jay, what is your second overreaction of week 12?
Caleb Williams is about to show the world why he was the number 1 overall pick.
Love it. That's a great one. Loads of people.
Did you see that play down the sideline? He runs out. They have him. He gets to the sideline. I thought he was throwing it away. And right, like that's the play where I'm like, this kid is something unreal.
Yeah, right. And I agree with you. I think Caleb Williams is ready to take off in the NFL. Jay, my second one is a player that we've already spoken about. It's Ladd McConkey. Jay, Ladd McConkey will be a prolific wide receiver for the Chargers for his whole career. He's going to be a Chargers legend.
I don't have a problem with that, and we may still have more Ladd McConkey to come. So, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I love Ladd McConkey. I think he's brilliant. I really loved him coming out of college. Jay, what's your third overreaction?
The Vikings quarterback room just got worse.
Just got worse with Daniel Jones. Okay, go. Everybody who doesn't know, the Vikings have just signed Daniel Jones. Jay, off you go.
Nick Mullins is the perfect backup for that team. He knows the system. Hey, Wait, Sam Darnold's down. It's 3rd and 13. What are we going to do? Oh, we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have Nick Mullins throw the fucking first down and keep the drive going. Nick Mullins comes in last year and has back-to-back 400-yard games. It's his turnovers, fine. But Daniel Jones turns the fucking ball over all the time. Like, Daniel Jones is better for a team like the Ravens than he would be for the Vikings. So I feel like, and I'm just wondering if there's any other washed quarterback that the Vikings want to go sign. I'm just wondering if there's somebody out there that we forgot about, that forgot how to play, that they want to go sign. I don't know.
Yeah,
Eli Manning, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe he's building it for next year, and he sees Daniel Jones as the perfect backup to JJ McCarthy. No,
You think Daniel Jones is going to want to stay if he can have a shot at a starting job next year?
No, but I think it's about whether you think Daniel Jones. He said he wanted to go to a playoff contender. That was his reasoning.
Well, yeah, because he wants to be on the playoff. He wants to be on the practice squad in case a contender loses a quarterback. But
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I
also,
agree.
If he goes to the Raiders and has fucking 6 bad games, he's never getting a starting job next year.
Yeah, 100%. I think with Daniel Jones, I think he's a great backup quarterback in any room. He's the guy. I don't want him to be my starter. That's not what I want. But he's clearly ridiculously intelligent, like ridiculously smart. I don't think he'll have a problem picking up systems and those kind of things. And then I really like his athleticism because of it raises the floor of your offense. However, I do get what you're saying, that Vikings offense is particularly complicated and doesn't rely on any quarterback athleticism either. Maybe next year when JJ's there will be some wrinkles that Daniel Jones is more suited for.
I do think if you do bring him onto the active roster during games as your third string, I think every time we know Sam Darnold's about to quarterback sneak, just bring in Daniel Jones. Just bring in Daniel. Let's stop quarterbacking sneaking fucking Sam Darnold, because as much as he pisses me off, he's our only shot at making a run this year.
Yeah, you can also have special set plays for Daniel Jones.
I don't want that.
I know you don't, but Daniel Jones is athletic enough to do that. It's just he doesn't particularly look it. I really wanted Daniel Jones to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. I think he makes a really good backup quarterback to Dak Prescott as well. And it makes sense for him because Dak Prescott gets injured every year, and we'll see if Dak Prescott's even ready to start the season.
I thought he would have made more sense there because I thought he could have started instead of Cooper Rush.
Yeah, I would start him over Cooper Rush as well. So that's what I would do. But, Jerry, he can't take the face of having to drop Trey Lance, who he spent a 4th-round pick on anyway. So, yeah, I think it's madness as well. Jay, mine is also quarterback related. My third overreaction. Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction.
Excellent. I think nobody puts him in his top 10s. No one puts them in their top 10s, but Baker Mayfield is a fucking top 10 quarterback, especially this year. That Giants game. Yeah, that Giants game, I know it was against the Giants and everything, but that could genuinely be the best game of his career in terms of being proficient, being just a good quarterback.
Did you see the media try to kick up shit and he handled it perfectly when they were like, "Are you Italian?" Because he was doing that, right. And he was like, "I don't know. I had never took a 23andMe," is what he said. And so I thought that was perfect Baker response. And as an Italian, was not offended. Go get you some Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he's also just a really good.
I agree.
I agree as well. He is just a good quarterback now and does the right things at quarterback as well. In the Browns, he made mistakes, he made stupid plays and all of that kind of stuff. But now he doesn't, and it's great that if the Browns kept him, they would have been prolific playoff contenders. They could have been in some sort of Browns dynasty if they kept him.
You and I beat the drum that Baker should have never played injured because it led to all of this misconception about Baker.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a great talent. And honestly, if the Bucs continue like this, he moves into MVP consideration. That's where he ends up as well.
I'm hoping you're wrong, but you're probably right. But I want to see the Lions eat one here.
Yeah, in that one, the Lions are 10-point favorites, and I think that is a huge point spread against the Bears. So
I just want the Lions to fucking lose. So but that's the Vikings fan.
Yeah.
I always go with always my belief is always go with the running quarterback.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts 100%, especially with the way that the Eagles are playing at the moment, right? Like just
And a
just
screen
because
pass to
AJ Brown is stacking.
Saquon, you could have a screen pass to Saquon, 80 yards and a touchdown. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Who've the Eagles got this week? It is
I just looked at all the spreads too, which is funny. And
yeah, it is the Well, they do have the Ravens. The Eagles have the Ravens. The Lions have the Bears. So that would come into
yeah, I
account.
take that back. This week, play Jared Goff. I take that.
I don't
But
know.
the Ravens aren't. No, it's because I don't think they're going to have Jalen run. I don't think they're going to have Jalen run, and I think Goff will put up 4 touchdowns against the Bears. I do. I think Goff will put up 4. But now you really got me going through this like we're a fantasy show, because
we should do that, by the way.
when they get in the red zone, it's a lot of running the ball. So I take that back. I'm going back with Jalen, as I cannot make up my mind.
Exactly. If the Eagles go down inside the 2-yard line, Jalen Hurts is getting a touchdown. That's and that's a 7-point swing there. So also AJ Brown is going to dominate the Baltimore Ravens cornerbacks is where I would go with that. So maybe Jalen Hurts actually throwing the ball as well. Jalen Hurts is our final answer, I think there.
Yeah. Final answer.
Okay. Final answer, Jalen Hurts.
All right.
All right. Jay, moving on to my favorite segment that we do, where we get our resident GM expert, GMJ, into the hot seat, and he becomes sort of like a GM consultant for everyone. Jay, I put my first question is, how does Daniel Jones fit in the Vikings organization? But we've already gone over that. So I'm actually going to say, answer that one quickly, and also say, who else should have been in for Daniel Jones?
Well, I'm not sure how he fits yet, but we'll see. I trust in Kevin O'Connell, so we'll see about that. But I think the Raiders should have been in on him. I think the Cowboys should have been in on him. Any team who needs a backup. I mean, fuck. I mean, I don't even know how you say this. He's an upgrade against Malik Willis with the Packers, right? Even though Malik Willis played great with his legs for the Packers. There's a lot of teams out there. Even right now, if you're the 49ers, and if you would have had him all year, he'd have been a better option than fucking Allen was this last week. So there's a lot of teams that should have been interested in him. But if you're making me say just one, it should have been the Raiders all in.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the Dolphins come up there as well, because you don't know how long you've got with Tua and that kind of thing. So you at least get a decent, a really good quarterback there.
For the Raiders, I just see your bridge quarterback, because you have to draft somebody.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it would have been a horrendous move for Daniel Jones. I think the optics around Daniel Jones are really bad, just because of the Giants.
Over the 20-yard line.
Yeah, exactly. From that point downwards, the optics are just really bad for Daniel. Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than his marketing suggests. He needs a better marketing manager. I would start Bucky Irvin over Tony Pollard this week as well. I agree with you on that. The Titans have got the Commanders, so
they could run. Donald ran for a fucking grip against the Commanders.
Yeah.
I like Bucky Irvin, though, so I can't say anything bad about him.
Yeah, I really like Bucky Irving as well. Jay, we're putting you in the hot seat for the 49ers now. Jay, what are the first steps you would take in a 49ers rebuild if they decide to just blow it up and start again next year?
Blow it up how much? Because you're keeping Joey Bosa and
that's on you. That's you. You go as far as you want. The owner comes to you and says, we need to get younger. What do you do? What's your plays?
Actually, that Bosa's the one I trade. Bosa's the one I get 2, because I bet you can get 2 first-round picks from a contender. You hope Greenlaw's back healthy as hell. You take that money. You got to pay Brock Purdy. I turn around and I trade Brandon Ayuk. Because I think Pearsall and Jennings and Debo can get the job done. I make sure I can keep Kittle, and I just start working on that defense again. I just start working on that defense all over again with those draft capital that I picked up.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well, because I think the offensive side of the ball is a lot less beaten up as often. I mean, the one position where you continue to get injuries is Trent Williams at left tackle. He's obviously at a certain age. Is it maybe better to move on from him? But
You just
really,
extended him though.
yeah, and also really, do you not just wait for him to finish his career at this point? Like he can't be like, what is he, 2-3 years probably off retiring?
So you
just
make
wait.
sure you get a good backup in there and rebuild that defense.
If a left tackle falls to you in the draft, then yes, like take the left tackle, keep him on the roster behind Trent Williams to learn for 3 years, and he'll probably get 4 or 5 games a year to actually get some decent reps in as well. And then you hit Trent Williams' retirement really hard too. Jay, the big question here that I've seen is, say the Giants were stupid to get rid of Saquon Barkley, right? I don't agree with that. I don't agree that they were stupid to get rid of Saquon Barkley. They were just also stupid to try and keep Barkley and Daniel Jones, because Saquon Barkley wouldn't have made a difference to this Giants team anyway, right? He wouldn't have made a difference because of just how, like, we've seen Saquon Barkley with the Giants and he doesn't make a difference because the Giants are terrible with an excellent offensive. And it's the same with Christian McCaffrey and the Panthers going to the 49ers and they just hit the straps. But Jay,
yeah, but the Panthers didn't trade him to the fucking Falcons.
Oh yeah, that was dumb. Like that was dumb.
You let him walk away and he's with the Eagles. So like, and he was the face of your franchise. Sometimes you just have to pay the face of your franchise to keep asses in the seats, to keep it exciting. I wouldn't have let him go, but that's me.
Yeah, Jay, when should you pay big for a running back, and when should you not? Like, where does your team have to be where the running back is the person that's making all the money?
I just think now that teams are finally realizing that running backs are worth more than they were fucking paying them. Yeah. Look at all the movement. We can go through Derrick Henry and fucking Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, all making life different for the teams that they're with. Brandon Jacobs, even with the Packers, like doing great
Austin
things.
Eckler.
Yeah. So Austin Eckler's a guy, age keeps you from paying him. But I think you definitely pay that guy when he comes up for his first contract if he's worth it, right? And then you start making decisions after you've had him for 8-9 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that having a good running back is worth paying for. It just raises the floor of your offense to a certain point. Like you're always going to be in games,
and then protects your quarterback.
Yeah, and it allows for loads more competitiveness and those kind of things. Where I do struggle is where they're asking for huge money and you're just not a very good football team. And if you're not a very good football team, no matter how good the running back is, doesn't really affect you that much. And
if you have a young quarterback, absolutely, because then you're protecting your young quarterback.
Yeah. If you have a young quarterback, it makes
now
sense.
The Giants have to move on. Get a young quarterback, having Saquon there next year would make life a lot easier on whoever's coming in to play quarterback next year.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean Tracy, I've forgotten his first name, but Tracy, who they have there right now, has had a really good season. He's played really good football. Well, of course he's not Saquon, but like obviously, like it helps a young quarterback to have that guy. It's about like the roster building, and we've spoken about this before. If you're blowing teams up, you still do have space for really talented players. Like you can still, the salary cap isn't so meager that you have to just get rid of everyone. You know, you can still have those good players there. So, yeah, that was a good one.
Like the Raiders ain't never getting rid of Max Crosby, you guys, no matter how bad they get.
Yeah, it's like the Cowboys. Micah Parsons will walk away from the Cowboys contract. The Cowboys will not get rid of Micah Parsons. That's the way that Parsons is leaving the building.
He's staying.
Yeah, he would be stupid.
But he's staying.
Yeah, I know. The only reason he is leaving is if he rejects a contract, though. Like the Cowboys aren't getting rid of him. And I think people trying to get Myles Garrett out of the Browns, that's probably the one where I'm the closest to saying that the Browns might let go of him, but I still don't think they will because he's just the face of their franchise as well. But Jay, moving into our Week 12 awards now, finishing off with Week 12 with our awards section. Jay, who is your Week 12 MVP?
It is King Henry.
Yeah, 140 yards against the Chargers defense. That's absolutely incredible. Like, there's no.
He just put like if you watch that game, he was just like, watch this.
Yeah, he just went, let's go. Jay, my week 12 award, my week 12 MVP here goes to Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison had an amazing game, doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves because he's on the same field as Justin Jefferson, but he's a number one wide receiver. And if the Vikings can keep hold of him, then that would be amazing because he could look to go towards another team.
He's actually one of those guys that I trade in year 4.
Yeah, I agree with you, just because of how the wide receivers draft classes work.
And I don't want to deal with his fucking dad.
Yeah, he's also like Jordan Addison's also had a few like charges and stuff like that, hasn't he? That
the speeding, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't know if his dog was truly sick or not, or if that's something he made up. But either way, I don't care about the speeding. I actually don't care about him being passed out in his car after his buddy died either at the airport. But he's going to catch a suspension for it, which will suck. But I don't think what he did is that astronomically bad. It's the Twitter shit and it's his dad's mouth that makes me think, how long can you put up with this shit with him and Justin Jefferson? Like, you're not gonna,
so, whilst you're the second receiver. If he was the number one, then it's, I can put up with this. But while he's the second receiver,
you play him next year and the year after you trade him.
Yeah, but he had a huge game this week, probably the difference maker for you guys. That catch that he had whilst also getting a PI was incredible. Like, he definitely has that there. Jay, I have a feeling I know who your rookie MVP is because he was going to be my rookie MVP for week 12. Who is your rookie MVP?
Well, there's this lad down in LA who's my Lad McConkey rookie MVP. That guy just pops off the screen. And he makes difficult catches.
Yeah, right. And he looks like a veteran wide receiver already with his route running and his catches, and he knows when his quarterback's in trouble. He's really well coached, makes great plays there. I nearly put him down, but I thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a backup. So I went for a defensive player because we've gone all offense as well. My rookie MVP for week 12 is Chop Robinson. Made a huge difference for the Miami Dolphins, obviously against the Patriots. Offensive line that allows you to make big games if you're a defensive line, but the kid's still got to go out and make the difference, and he definitely made that difference. And I think he gets left off in that running back, that defensive end class of Latu, Verse, and Dallas Turner. He got left off the bottom of that group. I think he's much closer to that group than people realize, and him being in the second round is crazy.
I sure hope he has the best game of his life this week.
I wonder why. And we'll move on to talking about that and whether you think he will have the biggest game of your life in segment 5, the Thanksgiving game review. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We've got 4 games to go through here. And the first one, Jay,
we
is
got
the
3.5 games to go through here.
3.5. All right, I see you. The Lions are 10-point favorites versus the Bears. Jay, how do the Bears slow down the Lions' offense?
Run the ball, pick up first downs, make it easy on, keep Goff off the field. And then I think they'll do a good job, but you have to contain Gibbs. You can't let him break off. The Lions are going to get some rushing yards. You can't let Gibbs break those long ones for touchdowns. But with that 10-point spread, I only got 2 words to say. Bear down.
Yeah. This is a pretty big spread for me as well. 10-point spread. Like, I get the Lions are good, but the Bears have been losing games, but by 1 score most of the time. They've been playing quite well and then losing the games. They're a much more talented team than their 4-6 record suggests.
I was trying to explain to somebody the other day, you probably saw this in the chat, that besides the head coach, Poles has done everything right in Chicago. Everything right in Chicago. Dumping players when I thought he was stupid, signing guys I didn't think he should sign. Literally, the guy has done everything right except for his coaching pick. And he traded away Bryce Young to get Caleb Williams. And a bunch of other shit. Literally, think about that. Poles has done everything right, if you ask me, except for his head coaching hire.
Yeah, Poles has done everything right. It looks like he's got the quarterback decision right as well. Like I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I still think Caleb Williams was the best decision at draft time, but obviously Jaden
I
Daniels
don't,
is
but
the
I'm not
shit.
mad.
But yeah, you're not like that's not going down in choosing Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes like level. That's not where that's going to be. Is everybody can see why you did it. But Pauls, I think, has made all the right decisions. I don't think he got the weapons in time for Justin Fields, but they're not with Justin Fields anymore, and they did well to trade off him. They got they did well to
And
go
he
off him
didn't
and move.
draft him, so it was easy for him to move on.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think the Bears play this much closer. I think we're both going for the Bears. Lions to win, but 10 points is huge.
I'm going for the Bears to win in my heart, but my pick is with the Bears to lose by less than 10.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on, man.
Jay,
Tell me that wouldn't be the most perfect upset game right there, because the Bears have been playing pretty well. Let
Yeah.
the Lions stumble a little, and boom, all of a sudden we got an NFC North, stumble. Helps the Vikings. Not only do they catch up, but now they have an extra loss of it. They have a divisional loss. Like it couldn't. It could be the best loss ever for the Vikings to see the Lions lose to the Bears.
I think it has upset written all over it. Like, obviously, the Lions have been playing amazing football, but they've just been blowing out bad teams. We have a saying here called flat track bullies. It applies to cricket. It means basically if you play on a really, it basically means if you play in really easy conditions and you destroy teams in really easy conditions, but then when things get hard, we're not sure who you are. We're not sure where they are. And in those close games, the Vikings should have won that game. And that was a close game. Like the Texans game shouldn't have been that close, but the Texans should have won that game if they just handed it off to Mixon 2 more times, like we're not sure who they are in these close games and they just blow out these terrible teams. So I think the Bears is going to be a much closer game than what people are giving it credit for here.
And you never know what happens on a short week. Like that makes good teams not as good. So
yeah, definitely. Jay, moving on to the Turkey nap time game. This is the Cowboys 3.5 point favorites versus the New York Giants. Jay, it's been confirmed, I believe, that Conor Schefter, that Drew Lock is starting. Are you starting Drew Lock over Tommy DeVito? Do you think that's the right choice for the Giants?
Yeah, I don't know why they started Tommy DeVito anyway. That confused me. I thought Drew Lock was the guy you go to because he's got experience. We've seen him actually Tommy DeVito had one really exciting, fun game, and then we all Tommy DeVito. And I just think Lock was the better choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tommy DeVito goes in there to try and get a bit of feel-good factor back around the organization and those kind of things. Like, can he play well? Because you don't need to win with Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito just needs to play well. But Tommy DeVito isn't an NFL quarterback, in my opinion. Like, he's not an NFL backup quarterback, in my opinion. Definitely a lot of fun in the XFL. That's where Tommy DeVito is for me. Where I look at him there, and Drew Lock is an excellent backup quarterback. He showed that at the end of last season as well. So yeah, they should be playing Drew Lock. I definitely agree with that. Another thing, Jay, is Sexy Dexy coming out and saying that the players basically weren't trying. Like the locker room's a bit lost. Jay, do you think that the Giants locker room has kind of given up at this point in the season?
Yeah, I thought they gave up at some point last year, and I think Dayball's got to go. And I don't think it's because he's a horrible coach. I think it's because he lost the locker room.
Yeah, I also think this Daniel Jones move, by the way, everyone, is not because they think that he's not the best quarterback in the Giants dressing room. Like, it's obvious he's the best quarterback in the Giants dressing room. They're just making sure they don't have to pay him an extra $20 million if he gets injured, because they know they're moving on from him next year. And I think a lot of veteran players in the dressing room are upset by that. I think they've gone, you've taken away our best our better quarterback. We had more of a chance of winning with Daniel Jones on the field, and I'm pissed, and I think there'll be a lot of trade requests coming from the Giants going into next year. I think they've totally lost this locker room. And you could see that in the way that their defense played last week, because the way that they've been playing so far throughout the year is they're just not a very good team, but the defenses played hard, but that was completely lost last week. They got run all over. Dexter Lawrence was missing. So yeah, I worry for the Giants locker room there. I think they've totally given up. And Jay, Does the Dallas Cowboys' slight defensive resurgence give them the win in this game? They're 3.5-point favorites. What do you think?
I don't think that's why they get the win, but I still got the Cowboys winning -3.5. I just think the Giants are dead and that they're dysfunctional and they're just good. The rest of the year is going to be a shit show.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the Cowboys will have a bit of a resurgence at this part of the season. They're playing a bit harder. They've got their more talented playmakers actually on the field now. And the Giants are just in free fall for me towards the end of the season. For me, the Giants, they're not the worst roster in the NFL, but they're playing the worst football in the NFL right now. The way that I look at them.
I never thought I was going to pick the fucking Cowboys like with Cooper Rush starting as quarterback either, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got the Panthers to play as well, so we'll see. It was why I never understood this whole, like, are the Cowboys going to win another game? Like, I just never got that because they were always going to be better than the Giants, like, going forward. Like, surely they're just aware, like, that's just obvious. Jay, the Packers are 3.5-point favorites against the Dolphins. Are Tua and McDaniels the perfect duo? And what I mean here is they both make each other just look really good.
I think that Tua is the perfect quarterback for McDaniels, but I think Tua could do this with other coaches.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think that McDaniels could do this with other quarterbacks as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's
like,
more of a
we
maybe.
haven't seen that though. That's the thing. Like, I just like.
Yeah, I agree here. I think the hate on Tua not having the tools to be a great quarterback is ridiculous. I think he is an excellent quarterback. That kind of offload, that no look pass that they did on the end of round, by the way, is just a normal rugby pass. So everybody going crazy for Tua for that, that's just very normal. Like in being able to do, your guy just needs to be there. Just need to trust him that he's going to be there. So it's not the craziest pass ever, but it is nice to see something a bit different in the NFL there. I think they're a great duo. The thing that I'm worried about in this game for the Dolphins, Jay, is the fact in your where you live, it's going to be -5 degrees Celsius, which is 23 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's perfect football weather.
How do the Dolphins cope in that weather? Do you think it bothers them?
I mean, maybe it will, but I'll tell you this, as somebody who's been in Lambeau Field a lot of times, it's a lot warmer in that stadium, even though it's outdoors, than it is when you're in the parking lot. The wind isn't as bad. There's body heat, like, warming that place up. It's not as cold as it is. Like, I've been to games that with the wind chill were like -25, and you're in the parking lot thinking you're going to fucking die. And halfway through the game, you got your jacket off and you're in fucking a hoodie and long johns because you're fucking sweating in that game. So, like, I don't think we're to that point where it's that brutal yet because our ground isn't even frozen yet. So, like, it gets way more brutal in Wisconsin than what they're going to play in. And I don't know who just did the interview. Maybe it was Tua, but one of the Dolphins just said, "We like breaking narratives." That's all they said. And I was like, drop the mic. That's what I want to hear. You didn't bite into it. You didn't fucking get upset. You were just like, we're into breaking narratives. I think they're focused. Maybe I'm just like praying, but like, I really think the Dolphins can win this game. That's why I'm taking the Dolphins plus the 3.5.
Yeah, I know the narrative on this game has probably got to the Dolphins players because there's nothing that'll upset NFL players more than calling them soft. So I hope there's no reporting on this, and they probably didn't do it. But if I was Mike McDaniels, I'd be taking all of my players to like cryo chambers and stuff like that all the way through the season just to make them stand in there and be used to standing still whilst freezing their fucking ass off, and just them getting used to that. That's what I would be doing, especially before this game. I don't think it'll have that massive effect either. And the main reason for that is, Jay, when this Dolphins offense is free to run, and it's free to just roam and everything's on time, they're impossible to play against. And the Packers don't have a pass rush that can slow down those Dolphins and Tua. They have a really good secondary. They have good linebackers, They don't have the pass rush to slow down to her, and your cornerbacks, if your cornerbacks are not going to be able to keep up with that level of prediction, I've got the Dolphins at 3.5 here as well going into this game. And Jay, our final reaction here is to the Chiefs minus 12-point favorites versus the Raiders, which is a really difficult spread to pick here. But Jay, do you trust the Chiefs to put on this big of a point spread?
I do, only because I'm not saying that's my pick. I'm just saying I do believe it's possible, because they really still have hard feelings from when a couple years ago the Raiders decided to take victory laps in Kansas City in the bus. And they, like, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce and them are still like, you remember when those motherfuckers decided to, like, that's something that it seems like the Chiefs find every chip to keep on their shoulder, even after winning all these Super Bowls. I do think it's possible they get the 12 points, but it is a lot. So give me the Raiders plus the 12. But I wouldn't be shocked if I was wrong in this game. And the only last thing I'll say is, can we get a worse Black Friday game? Like, are we fucking kidding me? Like, is this?
I mean, divisional game. I like the Raiders on Black Friday. I think that makes sense.
I want a game where I'm not convinced I know who's winning before it even starts.
I think that's fair enough to ask for.
How about put those Packers Dolphins on fucking Black Friday?
Yeah, I mean, they get the prime time at the end of Thanksgiving, don't they? But I think you look at what, there's other games in there, right? Like the
and why weren't the Cowboys Chargers game this week instead of last week? Like, and This is a joke, but is it because they used to be the Redskins? They didn't want the Cowboys versus the Indians on Thanksgiving? I don't fucking know.
The Commanders game. Yeah. The Ravens, Eagles, like the Bills, 49ers. There's some great games in there that just aren't being used for this game. Even like the Jets, Seahawks, like a game that's just.
I'd rather see that.
It's close. Yeah, a game that is close. I think this will be much closer than 12 points. What I've been saying this whole year, Jay, the Chiefs don't play that way. The Chiefs play, they'll get one score ahead and they'll win the game from there. That's the way that the Chiefs play. They win the game, scoring as few points as possible, like expending the least amount of energy that they possibly can, and that's the way that they play the game. So I don't see the Chiefs going up by 12 here. Jay, do you see the Raiders winning outright? Do you know what needs to happen for them to win outright? Do you see that happening?
An assassin has to kill half of the Chiefs players before game time for them.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be a mass murder happen.
I guess Max Crosby just going fucking crazy is the side of that. Right?
Antonio Pierce suits back up and plays linebacker like he did in his Super Bowl runs with the Giants. I don't know. Like, what the fuck are we?
Yeah. I really wish this was different. So the way that you would beat the Chiefs, right, is
all the same games.
Yeah, we did just pick all the same games on that one. Yeah, that's it. Whenever that happens, we lose those ones. But we've been doing actually really well recently, guys, just so you know. But the way that you beat the Chiefs is by running the ball and keeping them off the field and then making the big throws on third down when you have to, right? Unfortunately, Alexander Mattison, who is a guy that we both liked for a long time, doesn't make those yards. That's not what he's been doing recently.
And he wasn't even dressed last week.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
I think the only way you beat the Chiefs is if you're the Bills in the regular season. Like, I think that's the only way you beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, our final segment before we go and we head off, and you can start prepping for Thanksgiving, everyone. Once this is over, is our Week 13 best bets. This is where we give you the best bets that we would actually bet going in to these games. In this category, I'm 21-15 on the year. Jay is 19-17, largely due to having quite like some unfortunate ones, like half a point here and there for the Cardinals and the 49ers and the Steelers last week.
All right, so
what's
me
number
first. I got Commanders -5.5 versus the Titans.
Yeah, I did really like that one. I think the Titans defense is a bit too good for me to bet on a 5.5 point spread, but I'm not mad at that. That makes loads of sense to me.
Will Levis at least 2 turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other point, isn't it? It's how many points are they actually going to be able to score? Jay, for me, and I said I would never do this. My first best bet is the Cowboys -3.5 against the Giants.
I thought about it, but I could see the Cowboys fucking around and losing this game somehow. That was why I did.
Yeah, messing around at home. I just don't see the Giants' offense being good enough in any way to get close. And Cooper Rush actually did get quite a few yards against the Commanders last week. Like, he was pretty accurate as well. So that's all he's got to be going forward.
Drew Lock comes out, throws for 400 yards, puts the Giants in a weird fucking spot, balls out the rest of the year. No, okay.
Jay, what's your second best bet of the week?
Rams -3 versus the Saints.
Yeah, I've actually got the Rams at -2.5, so I'll give you the 2.5.
I like the 2.5. There we go.
Yeah, I'll give you the 2.5 as well. Jay, that is one of my best bets of the week as well. The Rams versus the Saints at -2.5. Why do you think that one's so close?
Because the Rams haven't played like up to the potential, and they haven't blown anybody out, and we never know what Rams team's going to show up. And that's the same thing for the Saints. One week they can play great, one week they can play awful. I think the magical dust of new coach died, and we're going to see the Saints be the Saints. And I think the Rams are so, like, they're in this too, and their only shot at making the playoffs really is to win that division. So I feel like everybody in that NFC West has to be trying to play their best ball. It's why the Cardinals make me a little nervous this Sunday.
Yeah, I think the Rams have actually played quite well without getting the wins. They've just not joined everything together. And I think there's a few pieces coming in rusty, a few young pieces and stuff like that as well. But Puka Nacua, man, like, is balling out this year, and I can see him having a huge game. Jay, since we both had the same second pick, what's your third best bet of the week?
I have the Texans -4.5 versus the Jags.
Yeah, I nearly went for that one as well. I'm going to pick it on the game day, probably the Texans 4.5 there. The reason I didn't is I'm not confident in the Texans offensive line here. Entirely.
When we go back, though, like, the ball comes out quicker, all that shit. I did think of it, but ball comes out quicker. Mixing. I mean, I don't know why they can run block and they can't pass block. It is so weird to me.
Yeah, it's really strange. And I think with Nico Collins coming back, like, they just looked immediately better last week already with him there. So I agree with you on that one. Jay, my final best bet of the week. It feels really predictable because of what else I've been doing so far this year.
The Broncos.
It's the Steelers +3 against the Bengals here. The Steelers underdogs against the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals have been playing anywhere near like amazing ball throughout the year, and the Steelers have had one or two backtracks, but they're a great defensive team. And I think their loss to the Browns was largely due to conditions a little bit as well, like playing in the snow. The Browns scored their touchdowns before the snow started, and then the snow starts and the game slows down, and that Steelers defensive line, the position that gets affected the most by the snow is the defensive line, and the defensive line for the Steelers is what wins them games, and I see them destroying this Bengals offensive line.
Yeah, I just like that's supposed to be Steelers type weather, though. They were supposed to win that game in that weather.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. I didn't want. I looked at that one too, but Joe Burrow, Chase, fucking that offense. I have a hard time like just saying that they're gonna lose. Like, I could see them losing this game, but I could also see them winning this game. So I wouldn't bet this game if I was at the fucking casino right now.
Yeah, I saw the Steelers as an underdog, man, and I went, yeah, let's go. I'm taking that straight to the bank. A few honorable mentions here. I thought the Seahawks Jets, where the Jets are I've got the Jets down as favorites, but I think I might have just written that down. No, I've got the Seahawks down as favorites, but the Seahawks there I think would be a good bet.
I almost picked that game,
well.
but I feel like the Jets are dead and they've killed me too many times this year.
Yeah. The issue is they're dead and they've killed you so many times this year that then the one time you bet against them, they'll win as well. So if you took the Seahawks in that game,
I just wasn't. I don't know who I'm taking. I just wasn't taking them as my lock because they killed me in the lock bet too many times this year.
Yeah, I think another honorable mention here is the Colts against the Patriots as well. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites here. I think the Colts are a better team than the Patriots all over on paper. So we'll see.
Yeah, I almost took the Patriots as one of my locks too. So
that's weird.
I think this is one of those games the Patriots can win because the Colts play out of control, whereas the Patriots are the complete opposite. They are almost in too much control of what they're doing, if that makes sense, right? Like, I think this is going to be a more exciting game to watch than people think it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm excited for this week of football, Jay. I love that it's starting early and we get loads of games on Thursday. And I don't have any of the family obligations. We're celebrating Thanksgiving. So I can just sit down and watch the football all day, call in sick of work, all
Me either, because we celebrate ours on Saturday. So
see, that's just smart shit, man. That's just the way.
It's what happens when you have a kid and she has a boyfriend of 7 years and there's years where they go to his parents, you know what I mean? And you got to adjust it. So
there you go. I'm actually having my first Christmas in Latvia for the same reasons this year, which is very exciting as well. But yeah, so just a reminder on our best bets, I've taken the Cowboys at 3.5. I've taken the Steelers at 3. 3-point dogs and 3.5-point favorites for the Cowboys. Jay has taken the Commanders at 5.5-point favorites, the Texans at 4.5-point favorites, and we have both taken the Rams at 2.5-point favorites.
I didn't realize I picked 3 favorites.
Oh, you picked 3 favorites? Yeah, you did. You have picked 3 favorites.
See how much I don't put thought into that kind of thing. I just look through and go, what would I bet? And
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. But yeah, have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you have a great time with your families, whatever you're doing, whatever day you celebrate. And Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. Do the same thing over at Overtime Hustling because they're always supporting us. Make sure you check out MMA Underground every Tuesday if you missed it. Yesterday, amazing episode. It actually ran an hour and a half. It was so good with Fire Chicken, the founder of Street Beef Scrapyard. I mean, they have documentaries going on. I haven't even brought this up to Maddie yet, but they will be in London, 8 of them, fighting on a pro card in February. And I'm kind of hoping Maddie can get out there because we worked it out if he has a chance that he can do live interviews with those fighters. I don't know if Maddie can. We don't know what's going on in his life.
I can make something happen.
Yeah, so go check out that episode, though, with Fire Chicken. It was amazing. The Scrapyard is doing so much amazing things. And what I love, not just about Scrapyard, but Street Beefs, is they try to, as all high tides raise all ships. And that's literally how they look at it. Like, we all rise together. So it's such an amazing community. And if it wasn't for Street Beefs, we wouldn't have Buddy V and Sam K doing what they're doing every Tuesday. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out Mark and Montana on College Football Junkies because we're getting into playoff bracketing time. Like, it's getting close. We're going to have some real fun college football going on. So make sure you enjoy your holiday, everybody, and be safe because there's a lot of drunken idiots this time of year. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.